Coming up on Hands on Mac, I am Mikah Sargent, and we are going to take a look at productivity on the Apple Vision Pro. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Welcome back to Hands on Mac. It is time to take a look at a real use case for the Apple Vision Pro. I am coming to you from my persona, my Apple Vision Pro persona right now, which looks just as odd to you as it does to me. In any case, you won't see much of this as we're doing this episode, but I did want to give myself a moment to exist here in 3D space before we move on to take a look at what it's like to work with Keynote in Apple Vision Pro. So let's take a look. All right, here we are on the main screen. And of course, the first thing we're going to do is launch Keynote. Now, Keynote is an app that Apple has built to actually include some virtual reality features. We are going to create a new presentation by hitting the plus button in the top right of the screen. And of course, I'm doing that by looking at it with my eyes and pinching my two fingers together. That's the kind of default method for being able to interact with your screen. Let's go with an editorial screen. And we'll go with feature story. This, of course, is just a theme. And while we kind of get ready to take a look at this, at any time, I can look at the line at the bottom of the pane and tap on that and sort of drag it up. And then I can look at the corner of the screen, pinch that, and suddenly I've got a huge presentation in front of me. Now, with this presentation, I want you to know that I am currently using a keyboard that I have connected to the Apple Vision Pro, a Bluetooth keyboard, because that's going to make this a lot easier to actually do. So I'm going to show you. I launched the Settings app first and foremost by clicking on the digital crown, and I choose settings and I go to Bluetooth, and then you can see that Mikah Sargent's Magic Keyboard shows up there, which I have connected. You simply turn on the Bluetooth keyboard and it'll show up in other devices. You select it and then you are connected. This is a Magic Keyboard, so it has sort of the best compatibility possible. And then from here, I am able to complete this presentation. Now, again, of note, I am using my eyes, my hands, and the keyboard all together to actually do this. Now, if I select the digital crown and I start to remove the environment, then I have a better view of the actual keyboard below me. So I am able to interact with this keyboard and see it, especially for those of you who might need to do hunt and peck typing, who aren't touch typers. It's kind of handy to have that at the bottom of the screen. What you don't want to do is accidentally get confused and start using your mouse, well, your trackpad, to try to interact, because that is not something that you're able to do. That's why I have two keyboards here, because one of them is for the Mac in the background. The other one is for this presentation in the foreground. I'm going to bring that back up. Just so that the keyboard is just barely there at the bottom of the screen. And now let's go ahead and give this presentation a title. So I'm glancing at presentation title and I'm pinching my two fingers and I'm going to go ahead and start typing. Apple Vision Pro productivity. Using the Apple Vision Pro to create. And then actually we would put a capital T because it is an infinitive. So this is the main screen. And of course, just like any Keynote presentation, I am able to do a number of things. So let's go over to the top right corner. We've got our share sheet icon. We've got the formatting icon. We've got the more button, Micah's favorite, and the ability to look at this not as a a Keynote presentation, but instead to look at this in kind of a reader view. Let's go ahead and tap on the three dots. This gives you the option to change the type of presentation. So you can choose to add a soundtrack, show the slide number, set a password, and do presentation setup. So let's start there. This lets you change the theme, for example. You can change the size if you wanted to do a square slideshow instead, or if you wanted to quickly change the theme. All of that's possible from there. Let's go back into presentation options. We'll choose presentation type. This lets you make a slideshow that loops. If the show is idle, it'll restart. If it's self-playing, if it's just links, as opposed to having the full featured presentation. And then you also have the option in here to, again, add a soundtrack, show those slide numbers instead of password. Find gives you the ability to quickly kind of look through the presentation to find and edit text. Animate, as you might imagine, is going to give you the ability to add animations. And then settings, we'll choose that. Help, of course, is just how to use Keynote on the Apple Vision Pro. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm showing you. So we'll choose settings here. And you can see that we have the ability to add or remove guides. So your edge guides, your center guides, your spacing guides, whether you have autocorrection turned on or off, whether you do use editing whenever a presentation is first opened, or rather viewing it as a presentation. And then if you've got older devices that don't have the ability to show HEVC or ProRes movies, you can change that as well. And then, of course, the author name. So that up at the top should change automatically. I imagine whenever we play, that will show my name and the date. And then let's choose animate. So I like to have a little bit of animation, right? So I'm going to select the main text there, and I'm going to add a build-in. That, of course, is our ability to make something happen right at the beginning. And let's go with keyboard. So it types that text on screen, Apple Vision Pro productivity. And then we can choose using the Apple Vision Pro to create, and we will add a build-in here. In this case, we are going to choose fade and scale. Let's see what that looks like. All right, that's a little bit too busy. So let's do fade and move. And I believe we can choose how the text fades and moves. So we want it to go not left to right, but from the bottom to the top. And you can see that we've got all sorts of options here. The duration, how far it travels, the text animation itself, if it's by object, by word, or by character, the delivery, if it's by paragraph, and then when it starts, we want to do on tap as opposed to with the build. So maybe you want it to appear right after build 1, which of course is the Apple Vision Pro productivity text. And now we can move out of that, and I will choose done. Now, if we were to look at this, you would see Apple Vision Pro productivity be the first thing that pops up, and then secondly, using the Apple Vision Pro to create. So let's go ahead and add a slide. And in the next one, we'll do a title and a photo. So here we will give this, and I'm finding my keyboard there, finding the home button. And I can go ahead and give this slide a title, use a keyboard, and the subtitle, connecting a Bluetooth keyboard, gives you better control of your presentation. And then for the plus, we'll choose insert from. And in this case, I am going to choose to actually add a photo from, let's see, from the photo library. And we'll just choose a recent photo here. So let's do this recent photo that I took with Amanda Silberling of TechCrunch. And of course, it has nothing to do with this. That's not the point. We just kind of want to have this photo over here. I can edit the image's mask by choosing format options and edit the mask. And we will drag that over even more so that it is just that edge. And of course, in here, we would put like a keyboard as opposed to it being a photo of me. But that is kind of a quick look at what that looks like. We'll go ahead and hit the plus button again. And this time, let's do a statement. And with the statement, we're going to do something different. When I select this, I am going to choose the text option, and I'm going to use the built-in keyboard instead of my keyboard that's below me. Now, I have the option to use dictation to actually type it out. So I could try this. Let's do this. It is easier to use your voice than it is to glance at the keyboard and type, period. So that is an example of what it's like to use your voice. But let's create another statement page. And on this page, we're actually going to do the hunt and peck typing. I'll bring the keyboard in front of me, and I'm going to say, it will take time to type out a sentence with your eyes. And so there's it with the eyes. And let's see if we don't have an eye. We do. So I'll put this eye shape up on the screen. And actually, let's take this text and move it, there we go, down. And you'll notice the precision here is a little difficult at times. All right, there we go. So now I've got that text on screen, and let us go ahead and add another page, which can be a blank page, because I want to show you that there are some other options that you have. So you could add a table to your presentation. You could, and let's go ahead and just remove this table. We'll select it. We'll choose the 3 dots and we'll trash that. You can add a chart. So you could do a 3D pie chart, for example. You could add just a text box on screen. We'll delete that. And of course, you can add a photo from your photo library. You can add live video. So this would actually show your persona up on the screen, as you can see here. So I could have that going in the corner as I'm giving this presentation. We'll delete that as well. Then we could add web video. So, something that's embedded from the web, an image gallery, which of course are multiple images, specific kind of images added from a file, a drawing or an equation. All of that could be added to this page. And so we'll scoot out of that. Let's just take there we go, our pie chart. And maybe it'll let me move it. There we go. To the middle of the screen. And we will animate. And we will add an action. Let's do pop. And so then we can close that. And we will come back in and we'll do a build in. Now this, let's see what this looks like. So 3D radial, for example, we'll bring all of those pie chart pieces together, which is very cool. And we can select that. There we go. And we'll close out. Whoops. and I closed out of the entire presentation. I didn't mean to do that. So let's have that appear and with the 3D radial. So now we've got that build in and build out for this. I'll choose done. Let's move back and we will add some animations for this. The eye, of course, should just scale in. Let's see, where's our scale? There we go. And once again, let's do a keyboard type for that text. On the page before, our build-in is just going to be an appear. On the page before, our image is going to fade and move like that. As you might imagine, the keyboard will once again keyboard in, and the text below is going to appear. Okay, so now we've got our presentation. Here is something that's unique to the Apple Vision Pro that you're not going to get from doing this on your Mac. As you know, you can create a presentation and play it back and kind of, have your practice and understanding. But what you can't do is you can't go into a virtual space and essentially pretend to give your presentation. So watch what happens when we go to this option, which lets us come into what amounts to kind of a digital boardroom. And now in front of me, I have my presentation. And I would have notes as well if I had notes for my presentation. And I can hit the button and look, it's playing out in front of me. The text appeared as I expected. I can use a laser pointer, Apple Vision. I can hit next to move to the next slide. And I can start to build in that text. So once again, use a keyboard. Connecting Bluetooth keyboard gives you better control of your presentation. This text just appears. It is easier to use your voice than it is to glance at the keyboard and type. The eye appears and then it types out. It will take time to type out a sentence with your eyes. And then of course we have our pie chart. And it does a little bounce. And then we come to the end of the show. Now, that was all possible because we're working in Apple Vision Pro. It does provide for a unique experience that you wouldn't get if you were doing it on your Mac. But I will say it's a pretty full-featured version of Keynote that you can access from your Apple Vision Pro. It's just when it comes to interacting with things, you will need to be connected to your Mac if you want to use your trackpad to move around on the screen instead of your eyes. And you will have noticed that I did have some trouble looking at different portions of the screen. But that is an example of what it's like to kind of use this built-in workflow use the built-in app as a workflow to actually create on the Apple Vision Pro instead of just using it as a consumption device. Folks, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Hands on Mac. I am Mikah Sargent. You can email me if you'd like with questions, comments, concerns, ideas, Mikah@twit.tv. And of course, I will be back next week with another episode of Hands on Mac. Thank you so much for your support. We adore our Club Twit members. And as I said, I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.